I was wondering how long this would take. Welcome back, troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. That's right, we had the Les Paul Senior, which was like a Les Paul Junior blent with a Les Paul Standard, so I knew it was only a matter of time before somebody tried that with the Les Paul Special. Surprisingly though, this is not the Music Zoo, it's El Diablo Amps and Guitars over in Minneapolis. So it's looking like a 56 reissue, right? Normally those are gold tops. They've got the cream plastics with the ABR1 bridge and stop bar tailpiece. But this time we've got black plastics, but not only black plastics, black binding along the edge. All right, that's interesting. Mix that with a TV yellow finish. Now TV yellow works best and looks most traditional when you have a mahogany top. So as you can see here, that's what makes this one different from a normal R6. It does have the mahogany top. And you might be losing your mind. What a standard with a mahogany top. That's crazy. Especially if you're trying to do a 50s reissue. But no, my friends, there actually are original 50s ones that are hog tops like this. Not just the Les Paul Customs like is traditional. You can find them in standards. According to the vintage price guide, that version is actually worth a little bit less because it's not the highly desirable maple top, but they are out there. I would love to document one of those because I never knew that until flipping through that price guide a couple of years ago. But being a Norland era collector, I like weird quirky specs like that. I'm sure traditional guys probably don't. So looking back and forth between the models, they do look pretty similar. It's just the upgraded bridge and tailpiece, and now we've got the binding. As far as our fretboard, they went for the black binding again, and we do have the trapezoid inlays. It would have been pretty interesting had they left it a dot neck, because I really like dot neck Les Pauls when they have binding. A good example of that is the Studio Custom or Studio Standard series from roughly the mid-80s. Although I think it would have been really fun to have this be a rat tail as well, but in many ways I'm glad that they did this fully dressed up version and changed some other aspects to it. So this is all well and cool, right? But the headstock has another fascinating surprise. Got a crown on it. So it's kind of like SG standard neck, or you can say it's harkening back to the typo error of the original 1968 Les Pauls, which you can learn all about in this episode. But that just really tied this weird oddball piece together, having another crazy spec. I mean, we might as well throw a first fret inlay on here too. Flipping it over to the back, we've got our regular Kluson style tuners. All right, I agree with that upgrade for a special. The back has a 2022 custom medallion. And it also features that TV yellow finish. So, I mean, besides the tuners, this actually just looks like a special from the back. But you don't get the faux alligator skin case. It is your regular reissue style one. So how much is this unique piece? It is $7,500, which is pricey for what it is. The Les Paul Seniors, they're what, around 62-ish. Music Zoo still has them if you're all of a sudden interested in one. But this does not appear to be brand new. This was like a made-to-measure type thing that maybe somebody traded back in. Maybe they decided that they didn't want it after they saw it. I'm not sure. But whoa, chambered mahogany body. That's just another quirky spec that makes this a lot of fun, but at the same time making it very, very, very not traditional. The black binding really is prominent in this photo, but that's looking like the last big surprise here. I mean, that's a good weight, 7.7 pounds. That is certainly a unique piece. You can click the link in the description to Reverb if you want to check it out or make them an offer. Next up, tying into our previous review, the 2018 BFG. You can check this episode out if you happen to have missed it. But this one showed up on that same day, and it's like, what happened to it? It seems like all these 2018 BFGs weigh around 7.2 pounds. That's about where mine was, but I can't tell. Did somebody sand this top down, or was this just a weird anomaly from the factory? Because the whole reason why the BFG has this whole reptile skin-like top is because it's how they start to form the carved top on these. It's like how the CNC cuts it or something. I've never actually seen a Les Paul in the process that had that before it was sanded down, but apparently it's a thing. But then to give it that worn ebony finish, they like lightly sand some of these areas. But this one looks like somebody sanded way too much. It's kind of got a cool vibe to it. Like if I had a baby photo in the case proving that it did actually leave the factory like this and somebody just didn't go to town after the fact, I would pick this up because it's almost like a custom color in that aspect, because the back looks about the way it normally should. It's got the wear on the edges. Sometimes you'll even have a little bit of wear on the neck, but not on this particular example. But then we've got this strange ding on the 9 in the serial number. But after that review and demo, I definitely have a newfound respect for the 2018 BFGs. And I think that's why prices have come up on these a bit. At least asking prices. Because the initial disdain of them not being original BFGs is starting to fade and people can appreciate them for what they actually are. And this one is a freak. But he's definitely asking a premium on that one. But to be fair, it's coming with a nice Gibson hardshell case, wherein these did not from the factory. Continuing our guitar hunting journey is one that threw me for a loop. We've got a Pinstriped Studio Deluxe 2015 model. These Studio Deluxes are actually quite nice. They have fancy electronics within them. Sometimes you can find nice tops on them, but when I saw this pinstriped version, I thought, what on earth is that? You can almost see like a flame maple binding along the edge. Instead of pinstriping it, they just removed the finish? Because that's what I was seeing. It took me reading the description to figure out what it actually was, though. It's gold leaf. Hand-laid 23 karat gold pin leaf and striping, to be exact. So once I read that, it's like, oh, okay, I see it. But now I totally want to see a straight up ebony Les Paul get relief carved pinstriped to reveal flamed maple. That's a cool idea. Otherwise, it seems to be a pretty standard pinstriping job here. Very well done. It's just, I'm saying the design. I've seen it before. But the whole gold leaf, I think it kind of works. So this is kind of a fancy Les Paul Studio Deluxe if you're just looking for a Les Paul that doesn't have the binding to keep the price down. Because let's be honest, that's not a bad price if you dig what they did, because I'm sure that's not cheap to have done. For example, look what else is on the market. I mean, you could get one for $1,100 about right here, or a fancier finish for $1,450, but I mean, he's priced within the other ones. So if you like the art, you can go for it. Continuing on here, I thought this was a Silver Flow Elegant when I first saw it show up. I had one of those once, where I regret not reviewing that, but that was like right before I was moving. I needed to sell some inventory. I got an offer. I let it go. If I had that guitar today, I would probably hold it back, because custom color Elegants and like the Alloy series that we talked about in this episode, they're pretty cool. But reading further, no, this is just a regular 2005 Les Paul Standard. I really like those, but somebody has custom refinished it. It's like a trans black with like maybe a little bit of silver built into it. It's either that or the new pickup rings have just thrown off my perception of everything. But I thought that was a really fascinating refinish on one of these. And then when you pair it with the natural back and sides, it's got an interesting vibe. You can also see our thin binding in the cutaway over here, exposing the maple cap. But then, whoa, that's not a normal 2005 Les Paul Standard. That's one of the ones with the binding on the headstock, and it says Les Paul. There are robot guitars that are adorned like that. And then, hey, they sculpted a stinger on the back and gave it some locking tuners. And here's a full back shot of that. Problem with refinished guitars, though, is you never know if they feel good when you buy them online. I'm not talking playability, I'm just talking the quality of the finish. It might look excellent in photos, and then when you get it, you got a whole bunch of paint streaks or whatnot. I mean, this refinish looks professional from the front, but it's kind of hard to tell what the back's doing, because I'm questioning if he had them satin the back of the neck, whereas the rest of the body's like full gloss. Bit hard to tell from the photos. But okay, now looking at the paperwork here, it actually started as Manhattan Midnight, a limited edition in 2005, which was another version of pretty much the same thing. It has this exact same style headstock on it. I don't blame them upgrading the tuners, because for whatever reason, they gave these the metal button style ones. Not my favorite, but you know, you do you. But oof, those were individually numbered, and we did not have that on the back of the other headstock, so we've got some of the serial number, just not the limited edition number. That's a bit of a shame. But while we're talking about quirky guitars that aren't spec'd the way they're supposed to be, here's a 60th anniversary 1960 Les Paul. So normally, that looks like this. You got your humbuckers, you've got your thin neck, you've got your maple top. It's a nice, beautiful guitar. Very, very cherry sunburst. And then you have freaks that order stuff like this. It's a Koa top, which is strange in and of itself. It's got P90 pickups. I mean, it's more like a 56 reissue like the first one we were looking at. But it's technically billed as a 1960. I mean, the biggest difference would probably be the neck profile, if they left that the same. But Koa on Les Paul standards, out of the custom shop, and customs for that matter, always ends up looking pretty darn cool. So in the future, when people are collecting 50th anniversary, 60th anniversary, 70th anniversary models, I think ones like these might pique people's interest because they were just weird custom orders. Either a dealer did a small batch of them, which is usually the case, or somebody was just like, hey, I want this, but this. That's the magic of the made-to-measure program, I guess you could say. But besides the beautiful Koa top, the back seems to be made of normal woods, which is mahogany in this case. And this one dates from the year 2020. And it's got all the anniversary case candy to prove it. That one sold pretty quickly at $8,000, which is quite a considerable premium. And our last one for tonight is from the year 2013. This is an Iguana burst Les Paul custom. You don't see this finish as often, but the reason I wanted to share this one is because it's aged. Usually when you see Iguana burst, it's like this one. It still has the white binding because it hasn't been displayed for too long. But that's always an interesting phenomenon. The current day guitars, what they're going to look like in 30 years, most of them will be kind of yellowed over, and some guitars turn really cool, whereas others aren't as nice. It's like silver bursts. People nowadays like them because they turn green, but people didn't know that right away. So this Iguana burst, having that matching yellow binding with the yellowed center, and now we've got the matching headstock, it just transforms the whole look of it. It makes me like it even more. But what I'm curious about is somebody who doesn't like Iguana burst traditionally. Do you like it now that it's all yellowed? I'd be curious if this converts anybody, because for me, it's an astounding yes, to the point where you should just custom order these from the factory with yellowed lacquer. But yeah, that one is from 2013, and that was almost 10 years ago now, believe it or not. But it looks like this one has the 490R in the neck, the 490-18 in the bridge, so it's just a standard Les Paul custom. And let's be real here, that is a fantastic top. It's perfect. It's not too pinstripey, it's not too wavy. It's got a decent book matching on the first half, and then it kind of gets a bit crazy down here, but that is just a fantastic piece. That's another one that has already been spoken for, but it was listed at $6,800. And oh, purchased from the Ace Frehley collection. That just makes that one even cooler. All right, troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed tonight's episode. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, consider subscribing. I post videos like this every day. And you might even enjoy this next one.